Hello, good morning. My name is Erin Scott and I'm part of the SBCWay curriculum team leading on numeracy and mathematics. I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you today to launch our numeracy and mathematics progression pathways that we've been working really hard on over the course of the last year. So before we get started and unpick the pathway, I just wanted to start with a really nice starter task today. Hopefully this is going to really help to share some of those mathematical practices and mathematical behaviours that we're really wanting to encourage in our learners in the Scottish Borders. So I'm going to read out the task and then feel free to pause the video and in your staff teams enjoy taking part and sharing and communicating your ideas and thoughts around this. So using the numerals 1 to 9, at most just use each digit once please. Place a digit in each box to create an expression with the greatest possible value. So if you'd like to pause the video now and have a wee go at this within your staff teams. Okay, thank you very much for having a little go at that task. Hopefully you managed to either work with a partner or have lots of collaborative discussion about what your strategy was or how you worked out this little challenge. But what is really nice with these types of tasks is it's really promoting that mathematical discussion and learners talking about what's a digit, where did they place it, what is actually an expression, what do we mean by that word expression. So it's a really rich way of getting that mathematical vocabulary flowing. And it's hoping to encourage that curiosity within our learners as they unpick a task like this and promote that collaborative working. So hopefully this is something that maybe if you're working at the end of first level or second level, that you could actually have a go at trying with your learners in class and see how they get on with it. So part of that brings me on to the culture and environment that we're hoping to kind of nurture and encourage within our classrooms across the Scottish Borders. We really want to promote a culture of success where our learners have lots of opportunities to make mistakes, where mistakes are encouraged, and that success in terms of our effort and our perseverance is really encouraged. It's really nice to bring in the learning pit analogy where we think about that learning isn't easy and it sometimes takes time, through either the support of your teacher, through collaboration with peers, and it's about really thinking about the different ways that we can support our learners to achieve and reach success. I think it's thinking as well about not just the culture in terms of how we are within our classroom, but what are we like in terms of our wider school ethos to numeracy and mathematics, and then that within the community, how we're engaging our parents and carers within what our numeracy and mathematics ethos is. Thinking specifically about those nice classroom cultures, thinking about your numeracy working walls, have you got the kind of key learning nuggets, vocabulary displayed? Is it evident for the learners to be able to use and access? So hopefully as we move forward, thinking about these different cultures is going to be really important as part of our approach. Thinking about at a national level, we obviously have our curriculum for excellence at the moment, and within that we have the 4 capacities where we want our learners to become successful learners, confident individuals, effective contributors and responsible citizens. And there's so many fantastic ways through our teaching of numeracy and mathematics that we can develop these 4 capacities. And it's really important that we think about these and think about how can we embed them within our planning, teaching and learning. The other thing I want to just touch on today before moving on to the progressions is the 4 contexts for learning and thinking about how we can consider these through that numeracy and mathematics lens. There's so many nice ways that through interdisciplinary learning we can bring in a lot of that numeracy knowledge and allow our learners to develop these skills. Again, we've got that opportunities for personal achievement shining through, and that's another way. How are we allowing our learners to experience success? So moving on now from the contexts and the capacities, I think within our numeracy and mathematics curriculum, it's really important just to unpick what is actually the numeracy side of things and what is the mathematics side of things, because numeracy is more than just the 4 operations and those number processes. So just want to highlight, it also includes the estimation and rounding, it includes the fractions, decimals and percentages, it includes our curriculum organisers on money, time, measurement, data and analysis, and ideas of chance and uncertainty. Then considering the actual mathematics within our current curriculum, we've got the properties of 2D shapes and 3D objects. We've got angle, symmetry and transformation. We have expressions and equations, patterns and relationships, mathematics and its impact on the world, past, present and future, multiples, factors and primes, and order of operations. So already we can see there is a lot of content there. There is a lot of different curriculum organisers that we need to be thinking of and working within. And hopefully when we come to talk about our new progression pathways in a little minute, some of this will be really clear and really explicit. So coming on now to our pathways that we are launching. There is a pathway for each different stage in CFE. So there is an early level pathway, there is a first level pathway, and at the moment we also have our second level progression pathway. They all have a very similar introduction title slide, and then they have an introduction page which is just giving some of the kind of key overarching messages that we would really like you to be thinking about as you're using this pathway. We then have a contents page, and the contents page outlines all the different curriculum organisers with the page numbers that you can find them on. And you'll be able to click and move to that part of the progression pathway. So we don't want you feeling that you're scrolling through this big document, and that it's really clear and easy and efficient to get to the right part that you require. So hopefully that will be really useful using that contents page. So this is bringing me on now to the progression pathway. So this will look familiar to those of you that have seen the launch video with just how the structure of the pathway. So just want to draw your attention to the top left. This is where you're going to see the curriculum organizer. So for this one we're looking at on the screen at the moment, it's rounding and estimation. Within here, if there is an Education Scotland professional learning resource, it is hyperlinked into this box. Also, if there's any useful Education Scotland videos that go with this particular curriculum organiser, there's also links to that within this box. So really useful if it's an area that you just maybe want to build your content knowledge or get a little bit more support with ideas about the teaching side of things. Then top right, you can see we've got the experience and outcome highlighted. Now, if this is a numeracy part of the curriculum, it is bold and italicked. If it is mathematics, it is unbolded and unitalicked. So hopefully that's a really clear and easy way to see which E's and O's are numeracy and which are mathematics. Looking then at the right hand side, this is where we've got our benchmarks that are all clearly kind of outlined for that area, that curriculum organiser. Coming now down the kind of left hand side of the progression pathway, you can see some writing in green. And what we've done is we've taken those 8 mathematical skills, and rather than having them sitting at the start of the progression or in a different document somewhere else, we've embedded them within the progression. So you can see the kind of key skills that you need for that part of the pathway that are related to that benchmark are outlined and shared, which is hopefully going to make it much easier for you thinking about these within the planning process. Then in that kind of sage green colour across the top, we've got mathematical vocabulary. So as you can see within the progression, there's 3 clear phases: phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3. And this is the case in the first level progression, but also it's the same in the second level progression. There are 3 clear phases. And this is hopefully going to help support you, just give you a lot of clarity and a lot of guidance within this level. So for example, if you're teaching primary 2, it'd be really useful to start unpicking the phase 1 content and working down phase 1. But you might find that you've got learners that are maybe then moving into phase 2 or phase 3, depending on that different level of ability. But hopefully it's going to provide a lot of clarity around progression within each different part and each different benchmark. So the next thing I just want to come on and talk about is you'll notice a slightly more turquoise coloured banding within the progression. So this is where we've put our recommendations around the CPA approaches. So just to kind of go back over what that is for anyone that's maybe not had much experience with this or hasn't had a chance to watch the launch video. So this stands for Concrete Pictorial Abstract. And we know that we can really build a strong conceptual understanding of number through using lots of different types of approaches and allowing children to build that structural understanding of mathematical concepts. So we've outlined the kind of concrete materials that we'd recommend, and then what different pictorial approaches we think would be useful. So this comes into lots of different curriculum organisers and provides a little bit of support around that. So I'm just going to now move on to just show you another example of another part of the progression. And this time I just wanted to draw your attention to the fact that, so each teaching statement is with a black bullet point. And under a lot of them within the progression, we've got EGs. And this is just to act as a prompt and act as a guide. This is not explicitly saying you need to have covered all these EGs and you need to have taught these EGs. That's not the purpose of them. This is just to act as a scaffold and provide more support and more information about exactly what that teaching point means. So just coming on again to another little part of the progression pathway, just to give you some more guidance on this. So throughout the progression, we have used little subheadings, and these are just to help break down and really guide and really explicitly outline what we're hoping for you to achieve. So for example, in phase 1, you can see we've got some content under addition bonds, content under related facts, and then clear content under the doubling and halving of numbers. Then looking down at the next one, the counting on subheading. If you kind of read through that, you will notice it talks about screened collections. So what we've really tried to do is embed a lot of the SEAL principles and a lot of the really effective SEAL content into this progression. So if you're really familiar with SEAL, or that's something that you've used, then you should hopefully see quite a lot of that coming through. But if you haven't, that completely doesn't matter, because what we've done is we've given examples and we've broken that down for you in this progression. So you don't need to go and look elsewhere to hopefully understand what that means. So hopefully that's been a little bit of an overview on the progression pathways. We have been, as I say, working really hard, using lots of evidence-based practice, lots of guidance, looking outward around the country in order to develop them. It's been a big journey, and we're still on that journey. There's still going to be maybe small tweaks. It is a working document, so we would really welcome feedback and comments around your thoughts as you start to unpick and use the progression pathways. And I will make sure that my email is shared as part of this, so that I'm available for receiving any feedback directly on the progression pathways. So we're now going to come on and have a little look at numeracy and progression planners that we have created, just in hopefully to help scaffold thinking and hopefully act as a kind of recommendation around how to maybe sequence and structure the numeracy and mathematics concepts. So what we've done is we've created one for first level and a different one for second level. On the far left, you can see the 5 different blocks, and these work across an academic year. And the months are underneath them just to provide that little bit of extra kind of scaffolding and information, but we're very aware these might blend into each other depending on holidays and how you structure things within your own school. So you can see in then the second column that this is just the kind of pure numeracy content. Again, we know it's numeracy because it's bold and it's in italics. So something hopefully you'll notice is we have encouraged and recommended this counting development strand to feature throughout all 5 blocks within the academic year. And this is to really help build that number knowledge and understanding and get children really confident with the number system. You will see throughout that column as well, that say place value, we've got that in term 1, but if you'll notice place value is also in term 2, sorry, and next to it we've got the words retrieval practice. So what we mean by that is that we're revisiting that place value knowledge and understanding. We're coming back to it. We're building on that making and breaking of numbers, and we're trying to allow learners to deepen their understanding as we progress through the year. So we're not teaching something in a block and then forgetting about it. We're bringing it with us and teasing it in as we move on throughout the year. Similarly, you will see the same with like addition and subtraction. October to December, we're still going to be, there's a lot of content and a lot of strategies to maybe have a go at exposing your learners to, and that's something you'll be wanting to regularly come back and revisit and keep developing with your learners. Then you can see on the third column that it says numeracy and mathematics. So within this, the ones that are unbolded are your clear mathematics organisers, but there's also numeracy organisers within there as well. So quite interesting within primary. I think sometimes expressions and equations can get seen as something in isolation and done as like a separate organiser. But what we've tried to do is bring this up earlier in the year. So you're almost embedding it, because actually expressions and equations in first level can look like you're missing add-in tasks, you're missing subtrahend tasks. And actually you're going to be already doing that within addition and subtraction. So actually bringing this up and combining it and bringing it in. Similarly, with patterns and relationships, you've already been doing a lot of counting development work within those first few terms. So then teasing in, looking at number patterns and things, hopefully will fit really nicely with a lot of the work that you've already been doing. Patterns and relationships around shape. Hopefully, if you've maybe thought about covering shape in block 1, again, that's going to be an extension and development of lots of that lovely learning that you've already been doing. Lots of conversations that I've been kind of having in the last few months have featured really strongly about the importance of data and analysis and the fundamental role that data literacy is going to play and is already playing in our world. And sometimes, again, I think that data and analysis, I know again from my personal experience and maybe how I've maybe taught in the past, is that maybe something that I'd come and look at as a meaty topic in term 4. But what I would maybe like to really encourage is thinking about tackling this earlier in the year, and then thinking how can we embed that and interleave that within maybe some of your context for learning, looking at maybe different types of graphs and charts as part of your topic work. So it's maybe seen as something that's really integrated throughout the year. Similarly, with chance and uncertainty, actually thinking is not seeing that as something in isolation, but something that we maybe want to look at, particularly around a lot of that vocabulary, maybe earlier in the year. We've tried to make a lot of these connections between mathematical concepts, and I hope that that really shines through as people start unpicking and having a go with this. The last thing I'd probably comment on, and just in relation to this, is you'll notice that we've put kind of time in block 4 alongside the kind of teaching of fractions, and that's because there's a lot of obviously fraction knowledge that comes into the teaching of time with half past, quarter past and quarter to. So we thought, is there a way that you can kind of try and start embedding that understanding of time within the teaching of fractions? So just moving on, similarly, we've got something for second level that we've done. Again, you're seeing that retrieval practice shining through really strongly. You're seeing the kind of whole number understanding in term 1, and then really bringing in that fractions, decimals and percentage knowledge as you progress through your other blocks within the academic year. Again, we've thought hard about getting that expressions and equations content knowledge actually combined with when you're teaching number, and not seeing that as something separate. So again, any valuable feedback on these and how you're finding and structuring your content and your thoughts around that, again, would be really useful. I'd appreciate any feedback on this as you have a go. Also within the planning, we have created this planning document that might just act as, again, a support tool to help you, that you can type in the boxes around what numeracy content you're doing or what mathematical content you're covering, and maybe including anything in terms of flexible groupings that you want to think about, and anything linked to assessment within that. You might find that you prefer the previous document, you like to highlight that with your different term colours, and it really depends on your own setting and establishment and how you like to operate as a team. But again, this is an optional planning tool that is available. Breaking that down even further, this is, again, I must stress, an optional planning tool. There is absolutely no expectation that you have to pick this document up and use it. But if you would maybe like to change the way you're planning your numeracy and mathematics, or you're maybe new into the profession and would like, again, a scaffold, then this might be really useful. So you can put your new learning at the top, and then you can put the key mathematical vocabulary in, and that's your focus maybe for that week or that little block. And then it's kind of broken down into the whole class starter activities, then the counting, the forwards and backwards number sequences, what your taught input's going to be, what your kind of key focus is, your learning intentions, and then breaking that down a bit further into maybe your flexible groupings, or what are you doing for your independent practice time. And then thinking about that kind of formative and diagnostic kind of assessments within that. Is there anything that's really key that you feel that's quite pertinent to note or document within that? So again, just a kind of recommended structure and an optional planning tool that might be of use. So in terms of those kind of rich opening tasks that you saw just in the last planning format that I briefly made reference to, this again was part of our launch back in March, so should feel really familiar, but we just kind of shared some of the kind of low floor, high ceiling tasks that can be really nice to promote that mathematical discussion, to get your learners working collaboratively. So just making reference to some of these, we've got think boards, so powerful for establishing those mathematical connections between concepts. So we really encourage and recommend the use of think boards, that kind of Freer model as it's known as. Top right, you can see the maths through storytelling, acting as those lovely hooks, getting those lovely literacy links coming through our numeracy teaching. Again, the website is just called Maths Through Storytelling, but lots of really lovely book recommendations broken down into particular concepts. So say if you're wanting a lovely story around remainders in division, they've got that nice book, say Beam 13, that talks about the kind of that one being left over. So yes, so the which one doesn't belong, top left, again is a website that's got these kind of tiles with kind of either 4 numbers, 4 shapes, 4 pictures, and it allows learners to just have that kind of mathematical discourse around what one should it be that maybe doesn't have a relationship to the other ones. Again, the same but different math. It's another free website. Again, these are free to access, but provides a lot of nice visuals, maybe just to stimulate that conversation within your classroom. The IC Reasoning resource, it is part of on our Padlet, and again, just quite nice tools to think about little starter tasks or little questions that you could pose to learners in groups to promote lots of nice discussion and really establish that mathematical thinking. That's something we really want to advocate in the borders, is that mathematical thinking and allowing children. So we want reasoning not to be seen as something in isolation, but it's the way in which we teach numeracy and mathematics. It's allowing learners to think through those logical steps. So this is just, again, some kind of key professional reading and recommendations about quite a lot of our thinking has been informed, that we've kind of taken, we've used to support the development of our progression pathway. If anyone wants, again, any further information on any of these, please do not hesitate to get in touch with myself. So yes, some kind of really key and interesting texts. So this just brings us on just to kind of the end of this little intro presentation, and it's just to summarise the model of 3 parts that we are kind of striving for in the Scottish Borders. So we really want to build that rich numeracy culture and environment where our learners are developing a joy for maths, that they're curious, that they are keen to problem solve, and that they're keen to develop their understanding. We want to build their knowledge and skills, and hopefully our progression pathways will provide you with the clarity and the support to be really clear and really explicit on naming the strategies and having that vocabulary there that's really strong to use with your learners in the classroom. And then from all of that, we want to then create learners that are engaged and that they're independent, and that's through all our deliberate practice, through all our lovely rich tasks that hopefully we're going to manage to enjoy doing with our learners. So just again, a little reminder about that 3-part model. I just wanted to touch on assessment, because it's obviously so integral to everything in order to get it right for our learners. So we do have an assessment guidance document. It's on the Padlet and it's available to access. And within our assessment guidance, we're really thinking about this interplay between our formative assessment, that ongoing, continuous observing, monitoring, seeing what our learners can do, continually pushing them on and looking at that kind of zone of proximal development and where they are. And then thinking about the interplay with that and in the diagnostic assessments that we have available now within our authority. So we have been encouraging the use of these cohort numeracy assessments called DNAs, so Diagnostic Numeracy Assessment. These again are all on the Padlet. They're all available for you to download and to use. There are 3 for every stage. So say, for example, for your primary 2-year group, there is an A, B and C assessment. Similar questions. So doing more unpicking kind of since the launch in March, I would say there is a slight increase in from A to B and then C. But again, just be mindful of that as you are administering them or having a go with them. You can chunk them into parts. They are kind of broken down into place value, addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, and so on. You can see the nice CPA coming through these assessments again. So learners are very welcome to have these tools available to them in the class as they're doing the assessment. They can actually have the physical deans there, not just seeing the picture representation, if that's helpful. And yes, and again, these are just to hopefully provide that little bit more support about maybe where those gaps are for your learners. There is an assessment diet calendar that's getting shared as part of our materials for this academic session. And within that, it recommends that maybe doing a baseline assessment at the outset of the year, September time, maybe redoing one in January would be useful, and then a repeating one to support your kind of judgments at the end of the year and support that transition information. Again, that's what this could be a supportive tool for. And that just brings me to the end of my presentation today. So thank you very much for listening. I realise it's a lot of content getting thrown at you, but feel free just to go back and watch it at a slower pace and enjoy unpicking through the progression pathway. Thank you very much for your time.
Great. Thanks so much, Erin, for explaining all of that to us so clearly. Okay, in terms of what next, 3 things. Access. Download the progression documents and explore them. Explore. Use a launchpad and get involved and look at all the supports which are available to support things in the classroom. And plan. Think about using the planning document to support your thinking. What next? Well, this is just the first in a series of interaction engagement sessions. So use the rest to really dig deeper, delve deeper into each element of the numeracy and maths curriculum. And if you want any additional support, then please do get in touch using the clpl@scottborders.gov.uk email address. And finally, before you go, please do give us some feedback on the session. This hybrid learning approach with video and stop and start and kind of questions as you go through. We're trying to make it work, so your input would be really, really valuable. So please do scan the QR code, select the session, numeracy and maths, an overview, and then give us your feedback. We can learn and we will look to make things better going forward. Thanks, everybody. Take care.